The C7 Audi RS6 was kind of like a bit of a rocket ship. It was a V8 with an estate car attached to it. This is the brand new C8 Audi RS6, and it's got things like cylinder deactivation, and it's got a 48-volt hybrid system. So does that mean then that the Audi RS6 has lost its edge? Well, let's find out. Well, I can say straight away, it feels like it hasn't lost any of its appeal. Let's just talk about the stats firstly. 4-litre bi-turbo V8 up front, with 590 brake horsepower, 592 foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 62 mile an hour is dealt with in just 3.6 seconds, and it'll go on to 155 miles an hour. But this car is a Vorsprung, so it'll actually go on to 174 miles an hour. And then, if you specify carbon ceramic brakes, the top speed is raised again to 190 miles an hour. That's bonkers. This is an estate car that will do nearly 200 miles an hour. It's got all the space in the world, so your family and the dog can come along and experience the acceleration. But that's enough of the performance stats. What we really want to know is how the RS6 drives on the road. And well, my first impressions of it are just spectacular. For such a big, heavy car, this weighs over 2 tons. All that power is put to the road via Audi's Quattro system and an 8-speed gearbox. Now, the Quattro system can send up to 85% of the power to the rear wheels should it feel it needs to, which means that you can have some good old-fashioned fun in this car. So we've just dropped into a 30 mile an hour zone, and what I've done is click the RS mode button again to put the car back into normal mode. The dampers, the steering, the exhaust, everything back into normal. And it really has subdued this car. I think that's one of the most impressive things about it. 1 second, it can be a snarling animal on some B roads and you can be having a great time. But then when you really need to, drop it back into normal. It's so uncannily comfortable. For a car that's just been doing what it's been doing on the B roads to then drop into this state, it's amazing. The one thing that I noticed straight away here is the rear wheel steer. So you get rear wheel steer as standard on the RS6. And at lower speeds like this, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction to the front wheels to aid in the low speed maneuverability. And it's a strange feeling to put across. It almost feels like the whole car is pivoting around your body. It's strange when you first jump in, but after a couple of miles in it, it just makes quite a big car. This car weighs over 2 tons and it's very long and wide, but it makes a car like this feel very small and dainty around town. It's so impressive. Now, I've already mentioned the rear wheel steer at low speeds. It feels like the car's pivoting, but then at high speeds, the wheels turn in the same direction as the front wheels, and it feels so stable, and it's so fast. You know, this car is so fast across the ground. I love the really thin steering wheel, and that brings me nicely onto the interior of this car. When you finish driving around, enjoying the performance, you're then greeted with such a well-trimmed, well-designed interior. I love the dual screens here. The resolution on those as well is exceptional. I love the haptic feedback you get on the buttons too. In front of me, we've got Audi's brilliant 12.3-inch digital cockpit. Now, that's standard on the RS6, no matter which model you go for. We've also got a heads-up display in front of me. And there's just something about the fit and finish in here. Everything you touch feels of such a high quality. You've got heated seats, dual zone climate control, you've got Android Auto, you've got Apple CarPlay, you've got everything you're ever going to need in this car. It's beaten the expectations I had for it, and I'll be honest, my expectations of this car were very high, and it has not let me down. But that's how the RS6 drives on the road and some of the interior features. What I think we really need to do now is have a look at the exterior design and see if it still looks like an RS6. So as you've already seen, the RS6 in the driving department at least hasn't lost any of its RS6-ness. And actually, when it comes to the exterior design, there's only 3 panels on this car that are shared with the A6 on which it's based. And they are the boot lid, the roof and the front doors. That is it. The rest of this car is built from the ground up to be an RS6 and it completely shows. I mean, take a look at this back end. It's just aggression personified, isn't it? The stance is incredible. There's also 565 litres of boot space in there, which is plenty for the Labrador. If, of course, the Labrador is brave enough to come in there with you. How about this side profile? It just looks amazing. Look at these rear arches, they're enormous. It's got to be one of the best features of any RS6, and especially on this C8. It looks so aggressive with the wide stance. Now this car is a Vorsprung, so we have these 22-inch alloys, which contrast really well against this Navara blue paintwork. It's only when you get up close with the front of this car that you start to notice some of the really cool little details. So this vent here underneath the bonnet, didn't even know that existed until you get close to the car. The front grille is really cool, this mesh effect is awesome. And let's talk about lights, shall we? Audi, I think, in my opinion, is the very best at lights on cars. They were the first to put LED lights on a car with the R8. And now these ones are so cool. When you get up close, you can really notice the details. And they even do a really cool little dance when you unlock the car. I think you can tell that I'm absolutely besotted by this car. I'd sell my left arm for one. It's fast, it's comfortable, it's practical. Realistically, what more are you ever going to need?